Hi friends, welcome to Creative DIY Purpose. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I have some thrifted finds to share with you. And our projects today that will be upcycling and repurposing were inspired by a beautiful vintage find that I found recently at a thrift store. So come on, let's get started. I found this large wooden frame at a thrift store for $5.99, and I knew I had to bring it home and turn it into a tray. So I applied 2 coats of the white Rust-Oleum spray paint, and then I with some fine grit sandpaper lightly distressed all the edges of the frame. So I have this shelf left over from a broken changing table, and my husband had kept it for me knowing I would probably be able to repurpose it. So I'm thinking that that's going to be a really sturdy insert for the frame. And then I also had these pretty jeweled handles that were given to me by a customer, I think like 10 years ago. She says, "Oh, I know you're going to be able to use them for something." So I'm finally found the perfect project to use them in. Do you guys do that too? Do you save things thinking that, oh, you're definitely going to be able to someday find the perfect piece that they're going to go with? So here I'm just the handles in. I am going up through the back side because that's where the screws go through. I did have to take a larger drill bit and just bury a little hole in there so that the head of the screw would go in and be flush with the edge and not stick out. So I applied some black primer from Rust-Oleum, and then I had 2 coats of chalkboard paint because I wanted to use up what I had on hand. And then I took some floral napkin and cut them up and put them in the corners, and then I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge them on. Then the next step I did was take some DIY white wax and apply it all over the top. I wanted to see if I could give it a little bit more aged look and try to lessen the contrast. And I will take a cloth with some clear wax and just wipe that back a little, and hopefully it'll work. Okay, so it worked, thankfully, because I did have my doubts for a minute. And I wanted to put some lettering in the middle of the tray. So I went ahead and just printed out what I wanted on regular copy paper. I'm just measuring to find the center. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do, normally I would use carbon paper, but I'm going to use just white chalk on the bottom side of the lettering. And then I just taped one section on there, and I'm just going to go over with a pencil to try to get that chalk to show up on the tray. And before I use the chalk marker, I wanted to just go over the chalk with a regular white pencil. Then after I had the chalk erased, I went over it with a paint marker. And then this piece will go on the bottom of the tray to hold everything in. And I will put little metal brackets to make sure that it's stable. So what ideas do you have, or have you tried when it comes to repurposing or upcycling any type of frame? I seem to never pass up anything silver plated. And this one was actually, the coating was chipping off. So, and I checked, there's no maker's mark on the bottom or anything like that. So I thought this was perfect to use my new vintage linen shade of paint from DIY Paint. And I love the shade of white. I added 2 coats of the DIY paint, and then I'm going through and distressing the edges. I actually did use fine grit sandpaper for this. Normally on metal, I never would, but it was quick and easy. And I didn't mind if that bright, shiny silver popped out. I actually wanted it to. I wanted to get through that coating that was on the top. I love the shape and all of the details in this piece. That's probably why I didn't pass it up. And I thought it would actually look nice displayed with some of my tarnished silver plated pieces. Do you like your metal pieces tarnished or super clean and shiny, or sometimes a little bit of mix? I love silver pieces that are super tarnished, and I love when brass and copper have a little bit of patina on them. Some DIY white wax, and I'm hoping that it's going to give a little bit more depth and maybe even just a softer look to this piece. I'm just going to let that sit on there for about an hour, come back and just wipe it out with the cloth. and it worked. Kind of gave me the softer finish look that I was searching for. So I want to print out an image, but I don't want to glue it inside. I just want to set it inside, and that way I can change it out for different seasons. Well, and I just put one on top of the other in Canva and printed them out on rice paper. I love printing images out on rice paper. It comes out very vivid, and I just use a basic inkjet printer. The top side of the rice paper has a texture, and then the bottom is smooth. All right, so I did print 2 sets of graphics on here, and that way I wasn't going to waste a sheet. Cut it out and just set it right in there. So now I can take it out when I just want to use it plain, but I just really thought that this was a really nice springtime look. Have you ever used rice paper for a project? If you have, how did you like it? So when I go out secondhand shopping, I mostly try to look for items that I can upcycle or repurpose. I also pick up items that I might like to have to decorate my home, or ones that I think list online. And I just thought this was the sweetest little picture from Syracuse, China, which was formerly on a dog of pottery. I come across a lot of those pieces. And then I thought this was a beautiful, I believe that it's silver plated. That is from Leonard. He's to go ahead and paint like I did the last one, but I wanted to add it online for sale first, just to make sure that no one else wanted it in the condition that it's in. And then I found this ginger jar, and I'm so excited. I've never come across one before, and I don't know anything about this. There's no maker mark unless it is underneath those stickers. And as I started trying to scratch off the stickers, that price tag right there says 300 and something and 99 cents. And then there's a copyright sticker up above it, and I couldn't make out any of the numbers. I wish I could get some more information on the history of this piece. I love this piece of lace. It is even trimmed out on the edges. It's 27 by 27, and it's just so versatile, so beautiful. And I'll list that on my site along with the other 3 items as well. I just could not pass this piece up. A nice wooden candlestick holder with a beautiful glass hurricane on top, and it popped right off. So I was able to go ahead and take the glass right out, clean it down with some rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to apply some of the vintage linen paint from DIY. I love the coverage that you get from this paint. What is your favorite? Do you have a favorite brand of paint? Or a favorite color that you're using for the spring, or that you think that I might like? Definitely let me know. All right, so try to distress all of those edges. And I actually distressed a little bit more than I normally do, but I kind of like it on that piece. So do you like a lot of distressing on your pieces, or no, none at all, or just a little bit like around the edges? So I picked up a case of these votive candle jars at the thrift store as well. And then that is a napkin ring that I actually show you in the next projects that we're going to paint and distress. And I wanted to add them on top of one another because I don't want to add a tapered candle. I want to go ahead and add a votive candle in here. And I think I had to add some faux greenery inside and some dried flowers. Those are actually dried hyacinths that from last spring that I had. And if you have any tips on drying whole flowers and so they can retain their color, let me know, because I definitely want to do a lot more of that this year, so that way I can have them in my videos for you. And this is some vintage lace that my mom gave me, and I thought that it would just add something special to this piece. So with Valentine's Day soon approaching, I could not pass up this cute little wicker heart basket for only 99 cents. And I also picked up the 5 wooden napkin rings. I think that they might have been $1, maybe $1.99. And I already have several different types of wooden napkin rings that I'm going to upcycle a couple of these. Turn this basket into a little riser. I thought that the napkin rings would make super cute feet. Apply some E6000 glue and then let it sit overnight to cure. And I'll put some weight in it to help. So I think that these came out super cute, and I thought this would make a cute basket to put our month of February Bible verses in. Each year, the kids and I break out these Bible verses, and the common theme through all of them is love. And I will post below in the description for the Valentine's Bible verse printout, and you'll find that on my blog. And we just printed them out on cardstock. And then each of my kids writes what the Bible verse is, and then we hang them up like a garland. And then I had some organza ribbon. So I just went ahead and did a light dab of hot glue onto the napkin rings, and I thought that they would go cute with the tray. So for this project, I'm just going to take an empty syrup bottle and I want to turn it into a bud vase. So I took an empty bottle, cleaned it, wiped it down with rubbing alcohol to make sure that there was no grease on there. I applied 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white, and it adheres beautifully. Sometimes when painting on glass, you may have to spray it first with a sealer to help the paint adhere. So then I took some of the wording stamps from the IOD set Rose Toile, and I'm just going to apply them randomly around the bottle, and then we'll apply the rose images that I printed out onto water slide decal paper. The images came from the graphicsfairy.com. Now for the water slide decal paper, I ordered that online, and I will link that and my printer below in the description for you. I do go ahead and apply 2 coats of the spray sealer to the images prior to placing them onto the bottle, and that way it will help retain the ink. And it helps so that the colors don't run when we soak them into water. And you may not have to do that with your printer. It's just something that I found works best for me. And I love my printer and the deep, crisp images that I'm able to get. To the bottom side, now it's time to add the water slide decals. So I partly filled this bowl just with enough water where the decal could sit in there and be covered completely on the top and the bottom. And I just used room temperature water. Now your package should come with instructions on how to use it depending on what brand you purchased. They are very easy to use. What I don't show here in the video, somehow I must have cut it out, I do add water from the bowl just lightly with my fingers on top of the bottle. This is going to help your decal to adhere. And all I did to make sure that the decal was ready to come off of the paper was I just gently moved it with my fingers just up a little bit, and that way it gave me a part of the decal as a starting point on the bottle. These are super easy to use and very forgiving. All I'm doing now is going over, you can use a cloth, you can use your finger just with a little bit of water on the top so that you don't tear the decal. And it's super easy to be able to smooth out any wrinkles. So before I added the decal on the other side, I wanted to go ahead and see what it was going to look like distressed. So I took some very fine grit sandpaper. I want to say that it was maybe around 220. And I just wanted to bring out all of the beautiful details in this bottle. You could also do a wet distress back in the beginning before the chalk paint dried fully, or you can even use like a Sharpie marker. You could use the wax technique, but this one worked out really well, thankfully. And this will give you a little bit closer of a look. See how I'm just pushing it up there. Now, if your decal doesn't want to move easy and you feel that it could tear, just set it back in the water for a little bit and just keep testing it. Now, I do go ahead after I let the decal sit there for a little bit, and I do apply 2 coats of polyacrylic. That way the bottle can be wiped off with a damp cloth and it will protect the final project. Lace and then a little bit of organza, and I think that that just needs something right there. I'm going to go ahead and just probably do a little organza bow on it. Friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to your wonderful, beautiful comments below, and I can't wait to hear which one of these items you like the best. and what projects you're currently working on. I will see you here next Sunday. Have a super blessed week.